All right, everyone. So the first supplement we're going to talk about is creatine. And so creatine's claims are to improve performance, recovery, and increase muscle mass. And I want you to know there is some good science behind creatine. It's probably one of the most well-researched dietary supplements out there. And there are studies that confirm that creatine supplementation can help with performance and recovery, but with very specific types of activities. It's good for short, fast bursts of exercise, specifically weightlifting and sprinting. It can also help people, and this is why a lot of people who go into gyms and are trying to gain muscle mass will take creatine. There is some research that show it may help you gain small amounts of lean muscle mass. What it doesn't help with is endurance sports, so that's important to know. So if you were someone like a long distance runner, I mean, taking creatine isn't going to help you run any faster or give you greater endurance. So question is, how much creatine do I need to take a day? And so typical recommendation is about 5 grams of creatine a day. So just to remember, a gram is 1,000 milligrams. So 5 grams is equal to 5,000 milligrams. And why I make that point is that many times creatine is added into other supplements in tiny small amounts of like 100 milligrams. So that's not going to help you. All that does is it drives up the price. Okay. In the past, they used to recommend a loading phase for creatine. Typically, that's not recommended anymore. So it's basically taking it um, on a daily schedule. So students and athletes always ask me like, hey, Mrs. O, what is the best way to take my creatine? So typically I would recommend, that you load with creatine before you work out, not necessarily immediately before, but, in the hours before that you work out so that you've had time to absorb it. And then you want to take creatine with a beverage that contains carbohydrates. So something like juice, a sports drink would work great. Okay. Now, the cons, all right. This has not been proven in scientific research, but there is a lot of what we call anecdotal reports. Remember, that's just somebody saying it happened to them. And that is muscle cramping with creatine supplementation. So because of that bit of information, we always encourage athletes to make sure that they hydrate well when taking creatine. All right, so that's the deal with creatine. Next supplement up on our discussion is beets, all right, and beetroot juice. So let me move this over here so it's out of the way. All right, so maybe you've heard about beets and people juicing beets and taking and drinking beet juice before activity. And so I want you to know there's some good science behind the use of beets. Beets contain compounds called nitrates and nitrites. Now, this is not the same as the preservative sodium nitrate that's put into things like hot dogs, all right? So they're completely different. Beetroot juice is one of the best sources of dietary nitrate and nitrites. So why are we interested in that? Well, nitrites and nitrates are converted by the body into a gas called nitric oxide. And nitric oxide allows your blood vessels to dilate. So they expand and you can get a greater delivery of oxygenated blood to your muscles, which is believed to enhance performance. And so that's the interest behind the beetroot juice. All right. So some other things that that's good about beets is that it's food. All right. So there's no harmful ingredients in it. So you can take a supplement like Beet Elite, which is in a powder, and you mix it up with water. And they now have, I think it's a cherry flavor one that tastes okay. I'll be honest, beets in general have an earthy taste. And I mean, to me, they taste like dirt. Okay, so, but there's ways to improve the flavor. A lot of people, to get the same amount of beet, um, beet nitrates and nitrates in that you get in a formulated shot like this from beets, I think you have to juice like 6 beets, and it's messy. So a lot of times people don't like to do that, but other people are really into it. They juice it and then they add all kinds of other things to it in terms of fruits and vegetables to make it more flavorful. Now, on the downside, you have to be aware that beetroot juice can turn or tint your urine and feces red. So that could scare the heck out of you, right? Because you would think you were, maybe bleeding. So you have to be aware of that. A good thing is it's effective for up to 6 hours. So again, there is some good science behind the beet juice. So if you're interested in doing and using things that work, this is great because it's real food. And yeah, try it out. All right, and then the last one in this section we're going to talk about is beta alanine. All right, so beta alanine, first of all, a lot of people haven't heard of it, right? So I just touched my face. CDC's like, don't do that, right? So what is beta alanine? It's an amino acid used to make a compound called carnosine, and carnosine acts as a buffer for lactic acid. Beta alanine is really a supplement that is for people who are training at a really high intensity for exercise that's lasting about 1 to 4 minutes. And that buffering of the lactic acid is believed to enhance the training effect. Now, the downside, there's a side effect, right? There's this tingling sensation that you can get from loading with beta alanine. So it's recommended that if you're going to use beta alanine, that you split the dose so you don't get this tingling feeling. It's basically in your face. It can be pretty uncomfortable. So a recommended dose is about 3 to 6 grams. And again, I'm going to translate that into milligrams for you, 3,000 to 6,000 milligrams. And if you're using beta alanine, again, be sure and split the dose throughout the day. And the reason I'm telling you the dose is that, again, many times beta alanine is added into other supplements, but in very small amounts. So if you get 100, 200 milligrams of beta alanine in your supplement, it is not helping you. All it's doing is driving up the price. All right, so that's it for this section. I'll catch you next time. We're going to talk a little bit about caffeine.